Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode number 17 of the Resilience Reflex Show. That's right, episode number 17. And if you're listening on the podcast, again, episode number 17, and you may not be able to see the visuals and the guests because we first do this as a hangout show, and then we make it into a podcast for the people who like to listen rather than watch. Okay, so my name is Zaheen Nanji. I'm your host for today, but with me I have amazing guests. And as we air the show, the date is December 28th, 2015. So let me ask you this. How did your year go? Did you accomplish what you set out to do in the beginning? Now that 2015 is coming to a wrap, what are your plans for 2016? Does it seem like it's coming too quick? Does it seem like it's overwhelming? Or does it seem exciting? You know, it's the way we think, isn't it? If we think, oh my Lord, or oh my, 2016, another year to go. But look at how fast 2015 went. And this episode, number 17, is all about creating high vibes and making your year resilient. Because I think and I feel that you are going to have obstacles. Life is going to give you curveballs. But it's how you navigate through those curveballs to get to your goal. And you may not get to your goal exactly the way you want it. You may be a few, things, behind or anything like that. And that's fine. But at least you are getting there, or you're going to get there. And that's how you want to think about it. So without further ado, I'm going to get my guests to come on the show and introduce themselves. And we'll start with Tana. Tana, you want to come up and let us know where you're from and what you do?
All right. Well, thank you, Zaheen. I am the CEO of the Discovery Center for Entrepreneurship, and we're known as Possibility.ca because that's what we help people create, whether it's in their career, their business, or their life. So that's what I do, and I am sitting in snowy white Kelowna, BC, looking out my window and just hanging out.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Next we have Monica. So Monica, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Monica Strobel, and I'm the author of the book, The Compliment Quotient. So my goal is to work with people to increase the use of the power of appreciation to improve their lives, their relationships, and their business success. So I'm coming to you from Denver, Colorado, where we had a lovely winter and lovely snow here, and I'm so excited to be here with these great ladies.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Monica. Okay, and then next we have Lotti. Do you want to come up, Lotti?
Yes, thank you, Zaheen. My name is Lottie Meyer. I'm a certified law of attraction trainer and facilitator and certified Lahochi energy healing therapist. I help companies and corporates to adopt the culture of the law of attraction and positivity. And I help people with self-empowerment. I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for being there. See, I told you where you're going. Just so you know, all of you, I didn't want to say this, but just in case I say weird things, just know that I had a concussion on the night of the 25th, and I've been told to have brain rest, but as you can tell, I'm not, because I love what I do. But after today, yes, after this show, I am going home and I'm having a brain rest. But I've told my experts here that if that they can take on the show too. Anything happens. But I'm sure with all the high vibes that we're going to have on this show, I'm sure I feel much, much better after. Okay, thanks, Lotti. So next we have Laurel, my dear friend from Edmonton.
Hey, Zaheen. My name's Laurel Vesper, and thank you, yes, my dear friend Zaheen, who, if you were, the thing I want to say before I introduce myself is, what would you be telling all of your clients, Zaheen, about resting your brain with a concussion? Isn't that probably, I'm not sure about for all the other ladies, but we probably are great at giving advice and suggestions and terrible about taking our own advice and suggestions. So there you go. So welcome to us all being real here today. My name's Laurel Vesper, and I'm the author of a book called To Be Awake, which is about mindfulness principles in our and how we can make our decisions more conscious and intentional. I work with people who live in a crazy busy world. So if you live in a crazy busy world, I work with people to help them find a happier, healthier path through life, and perhaps a little less busy and a little less crazy.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Laurel. So you heard all the women here. We have 2 missing, and I would like to acknowledge them because they were really hoping to be on the show today. So one of them is my co-host, and you've heard her on the past shows, and it's Kathleen Calwell. And in fact, she gave a gift for all the people who are watching the show or listening. And if you want to access that gift, you can go on to my website, which is what you see right here for those of you watching the show, zaheenmanji.com. Click on the Resilience Reflex show and click on episode number 17, and you'll see all the gifts from the experts here. So one's from Kathleen and the other one's from Laurel, who's doing a webinar in January, right?
Right, on January the 9th.
Right. So it's 16 tips to start your year, right?
Exactly. It's called Create 2016, and free webinar. And there's also some other interesting bonuses that are attached when you register for the free webinar. Right.
Correct. And also Kathleen gave something that you can start off to use right away in the year 2016. And she can't be on the show because she's in Florida and she's having issues with connecting on the internet. So make sure that you download that gift and also get a hold of her and see what she's all about. The second guest who couldn't come on is stuck in a snowstorm as well, and she's in Halifax. And she was on episode number 16, I believe, where she talked about her journey as a 4-time cancer survivor, and that's Crystal Conway. And her book is coming out, Never Lose Hope, next month. So again, check her out. And I will have all the notes on the show page for you. But she couldn't come on as well. And that happens, right? You can't control Mother Nature. You can't control things like that. But with who we have today, I would like to first start the show by saying if you haven't yet got the worksheet that I offered with the show here, please do that. Download the worksheet because it will help you understand what we're doing on the show. It's to make 2016 the year of success for you. But first, we want to acknowledge the year 2015. And with that, I would like to start by saying that we always talk about the goals for the next year, but we never look back and just sit and reflect on the accomplishments that we've had, because they weren't easy as well. They were tougher to actually get to. And we had obstacles there as well, but we found a way to get it done. And so I think in the first part of the show, I would really like to reflect on that. And also, I want you to learn from all the women on the show here today as to what they did and how did they overcome any obstacles on the way and how did they achieve their goal. So I will go last. So let's start with backwards now. So let's start with Laurel. Laurel, share with us what you accomplished in 2015 and if you had any obstacles and how you felt going through the journey.
Well, in all honesty, I think my accomplishment for 2015 was not losing my mind. 2015 started out, I had, as we do going into 2016, I had some goals of things that I wanted to accomplish. Number one, I was really interested in launching my own podcast show. That was high on my list of things to do. And right from the very beginning of 2015, it became a year of everything that could go sideways went sideways in the year. We had a death of a friend quite unexpectedly, and then dealing with sort of estate matters for her. We had illnesses in our own family. We had actually just recently our basement flooded. It was one thing after another, after another, after another. So, reflecting back on 2015, it was, wow, coming through to the end of it and still feeling okay. So I think my big takeaway in that is that sometimes we have goals, and sometimes life has other plans for us, and that there are all kinds of obstacles that are thrown in our path. And sometimes it means that we have to step back from what the plan was, that, goals that seemed like they were going to be the thing that I was going to do in 2015 just did not materialize. And so I think that's an important takeaway, that you have to adjust and go with what the flow of what is happening in your life, and that's okay, that's part of resilience, recognizing that, wow, we're not doing that. We're not doing, a number of things that we had planned, and that's okay. And I think the other important takeaway that I had from 2015 was that as the year went on, I started collecting up all of the sort of calamity, and I could list off, well, this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and poor me, and oh, poor me, and oh, and at some point I caught myself in that process of, okay, if I focus on that, then that becomes amplified, of course. Not to dismiss any of the calamity that was indeed going on, but just also refocusing on what is it that I need to do to kind of get back to, truly get back to the basics.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you brought that up, Laurel, because this is where it all becomes so real, that, hey, you may see people doing this and that, and why is she so, doing all this, and she can get there so quickly, and I'm still here, and da-da-da. And I find that happens a lot, and I say this because I hear people say that to me, and I see that too, and I go, you know what, though? You don't know what else is going on in my life. You don't know what else. And the way you say it, that you had this, goal about a podcast, and yeah, it didn't happen, because one thing after another came into your life. And I like what you say, that if I focus on it some more, it will happen more. And this is where I find that law of attraction, which my friend Lotti is talking about too, that it's all about vibes. And when you have negative vibes, you'll create more and more negativity in your life. And if you have positive vibes, which is what the show is about today, then you are going to attract more and more into your life. And yes, it's all about resilience. So thank you, Laurel, for sharing that with the listeners and with the viewers, that you had a goal and this is what happened. But you had other things happen too that were great, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yes, lots of other great things. And, I think, too, that, again, coming back to that law of attraction, a lot of the chaos that came into my life in 2015 really helped to amplify things that I had said that I wanted. So one of the things that I had wanted in 2015 was to truly declutter some areas of my house. Not that they were, wild and crazily, not a hoarder sort of situation, but just stuff that, it's time to move that on, but, always had some reason to not do it. Well, when your basement floods, that is the time to declutter, because it's all going out of the basement anyway. So I think that sometimes things come to us in ways that are not the way we expect them to come to us. But it was like, okay, that was a goal for 2015 to clear out some stuff, and guess what? It got cleared out just in on a wave of
That's great.
water.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for sharing, Laurel. So what I'll do next is I'm going to...
Wasn't in.
I think Laurel is breaking up. So you were just breaking up there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on to Lotti. So Lotti, come on and tell our viewers. I'm just going to unmute you there. Oh, there we go. Oops.
Need to unmute. Okay. I think you can hear me now, right?
Yes, I can.
So my obstacles in 2015 were, a big one was a car accident. I was rear-ended, and as I study energy, I teach about energy healing, and I was wondering, why did this all happening to me? So I know that nothing is a coincidence, so I tried to see the meaning behind the accident, and I found it was, I don't know whether it's the only meaning, but it was, I attracted this accident because I built up tension within me with and just playing pickleball, which is my beloved sport, a new sport. But I actually built up such a competitiveness, and I was so fascinated by the sport, but underneath this competition, that feeling of being competitive, I actually felt anger coming up. And that stemmed also from my childhood. So for myself, I solved this whole thing with being in competition in a sport. So that already made me feel much, much better and at ease. I'm no longer that competitive because this accident really shook me. I could no longer do my part-time job, and it was a blessing. I also saw this as I tried to see everything as positive, because there is always a positive meaning behind everything. So it was a blessing because I focused back on bringing law of attraction into the corporate world, which everybody tells me is impossible. And by bringing it with the term law of attraction. So as I did start this, I changed, okay, no more part-time job. Now I'm going to do full-time law of attraction and healing work. I got immediately a TV interview show, which was huge for me because I've never done it. And I prepared myself for this event diligently and really, really well. So for me, it helped me to go into this interview with confidence.
Yeah.
So that comes up in my life all the time. I always explore new things. I'm always then, of course, attracting something that I have never done.
So I like the fact that how you say that you started off with an accident, but you have this goal in the background that you really wanted to do law of attraction training full time, and somehow this obstacle turned into something that you wanted in your life, which is going full time, and that's a great goal to have. And so for the listeners and the viewers, sometimes instead of saying why me, which is a blame mindset, start thinking like the way Lotti was saying, is that there is always something positive, and that is her code that she has in the back of her brain, that when she comes across a challenge, she'll stop and she'll say, what is something positive that is happening to me right now? And she figured it out. And that, again, is being resilient.
Yes, and law of attraction is actually, I did many seminars, but in a different setting. So I said, okay, by law of attraction, I know I can practice it now really well. I need a mentor. And I found it instantly. Michael Logier in Canada, who is the expert, it was helping me with technical things, with flyers, with the right words to get into the corporate world. And the first week after I set the intention to get into the corporate world, I met a friend unexpectedly, and she said, what are you doing nowadays? And I said, well, I tried to get into these companies. And she said, oh my gosh, we need you in my company.
Awesome. Well,
so already a week later, I'm not kidding, I already attracted a friend who brought me into a corporation, and everything just flows, which brings me now to the next 2016 obstacle.
Hold on, Lotti. We will go to 2016 after. Right
Okay.
now, we're just going through 2015.
Okay, though, that's fine.
So I'm just going to give you and both, Laurel and you, an applause for accomplishing your goals. And now I'm going to go to Monica. Go on mute. So if you just want to unmute. Okay, how do I do this? There we go. There we go. And introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from, and well, you did that already. But tell us about your accomplishment for 2015, and if you faced any obstacle, how you got over that.
Yeah, hi. So one of the things I accomplished in 2015 was meeting you, Zaheen, and some other people, because one of the things I decided to do was expand my speaking career, and participated in a program that was designed to help people who wanted to do that. In the past, everything I had done was outbound reaching out, and now I've started to get people reaching into me to talk to me about speaking to them. So I consider that a really big, switch. It's exciting when the phone starts to ring and people say that they've heard about you and they'd like to talk to you about speaking to their organization. So that was one thing that I had decided to try to do, and that's been working for me. I know that that your work and your relationships, your life flourish when you do, and that has really been one of my goals for 2015, because now I became an empty nester. The last of my 3 children went off to college, and when you're mostly spending your time balancing work and being a parent, and then all of a sudden you really are freed up to put more of your energy in your life into your work, it does become a little bit of a challenge, because you haven't spent as much time taking care of yourself. At least that was the case for me. And so that has been a challenge, to stop focusing giving so much on others, and to try to realize that by focusing a little bit more on taking care of my needs, I'm also going to have more to give to others, which is one of the things that I love about the power of appreciation, because that's exactly what it does. That when you're appreciating, you're not complaining as much, you're really focusing on what's working, it helps you go through those bumps that you come into. Business-wise, I also upgraded my website, and I really increased my presence on social media, and that's been a struggle. I'm not so great with technology, and it's been interesting as well, but I've really enjoyed it. It's so fun to be able to reach out to people around the world and get them involved in your community. So that has been super. I have had a few health things for the last 10 years, and so I've been working on that, and I'm really actually gotten to a really good place with some autoimmune things that I have struggled with in the past. And so that feels really good too, to start having that really under control and feeling much better and ready to move ahead as well with that. So I think celebrating, as you're talking about, is so important. A lot of us were sort of taught when we were young, don't celebrate, don't be, be quiet about your successes because maybe something will happen, somebody will take it away, or you're not supposed to speak up and focus on that. So I really think it's important to focus on the things that we've accomplished, and it's exciting to be part of this and
Yeah.
celebrating that. So
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And I did put something up again, celebrate, because that will lead to positive vibes. And that's what this is all about. It's all about celebrating. And
absolutely.
and the fact that you mentioned that how you're just another human being who is working towards her business, and yeah, you had some health issues and you're also trying to work on that. And that again is just part of life. And I find that there are some of us, out there who will say, oh, now this happened to me, so I'm just gonna give up, or I'm just going to. But this is what I think makes us stronger as human beings, is we find ourselves even, I think, stronger or better. I'm not sure what the word I'm looking for, but you know how when you go through a struggle and you come out the other end with new learnings, you just feel different. And like, if any of you want to, jump in and think of a word or something that makes it come out as like an aha, like, I'm so glad I went through that because it made me figure out something new about me. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. And I just find that all the time, that when I go through something and it's a huge a struggle. Like, I have a friend right now that I'm helping, and she's actually my neighbor, and I'm helping her with her book, and she has no idea about the technology. She has no idea about how to put it on Amazon. She has no, like, and I have to be very patient with her. And yesterday when she came over, she said, I just feel like giving up. And I said, no, like, you've come so far. And she goes, yes, I know, Zaheen, I've come so far to write this book. I'm not giving up, but I feel like giving up. And I go, I know, I've been there too, but just stick in there, because look how far you've come about, learning about Amazon and about technology and about ebooks and EPUB and all that kind of stuff, which you didn't know before. You've just grown to another level. And I think this is what it's all about, right?
Right. I think that everything that we go through is in preparation for what we're going to go through in the future. So when we look back and we think, oh, I went through these terrible things, but they really shape us, and we take those into the future. A lot of times we're very hard on ourselves because we think, I should have known that earlier, I should have done differently in the past, but you can only do as well as you can at the moment and move forward. Because you can't, hindsight is always going to be different than when you're looking ahead. So.
Yes. Thanks, Monica. Okay, Tana, tell us about your goal for 2015, or your accomplishment, or if you had a goal and you accomplished it, and any obstacles that you had in the middle.
Well, I would say that 2015 was the year for me to really find my footing. At the very end of the previous year, we moved right out of the community, right out of the region that we'd lived in, since the 80s. And I think I just took all my connections and everything for granted. Like, it's just, well, it's always going to feel connected. Until I moved somewhere that I had no background of relatedness with. It wasn't that far away, really, but it's a mountain range away and a different climate away. So, and I hadn't planned for that. So, I like the way you've got us thinking about the obstacles, because I was just getting the job done. Like, we have to move and we have all the logistics and things to do. And I was worried about the kids and, my husband and how it was for everyone. And I hadn't really stopped to consider how connected I felt, and then how not connected I was. So I think that was a big thing for me that kind of came out of my blind spot. So really working this year on being out of my comfort zone, taking risks, volunteering for different things, and all kinds of things like that, to start to find out how the community works. How is this community different? What is the culture like here? And I found a lot of differences that I hadn't expected. So it was actually kind of cool once I started to be more in the inquiry of getting to know this new place and these new people. So that, I'd have to say that was one of my biggest things, because I think I felt like everything for a while was out of sorts. And how do I put it back together, but not put it back together the way it was, like be open and inquisitive and be in a new space for creating kind of what's next. So now I really see this as, this is the next stage of, I'm entering a new stage of life. I'm not quite an empty nester, though they're both old enough to be on their own, but we've kind of come back together as a family since we moved here. And so, that's kind of cool as well. So I think there was a lot of, I felt insecure when I started to realize how unplugged I was. I had a lot of relationships of high trust, and I didn't have any of that. Like, who are you? The credits in the emotional bank account, Stephen Covey talks about, I didn't have an emotional bank account with anyone. I was starting everything from zero. So just looking at, how can I contribute? Where do I fit? What do I have to offer? What's needed here? Was new. So it was really just myself, right? Working on getting into a space of looking at, all that I kind of took for granted or hadn't considered, hadn't anticipated.
I just want to say something here that you say, and I really like that. And I actually call that an outcome mindset. It's, you didn't say, oh, now I've moved here, now what do? I don't know anyone, no one knows me. That's the blame mindset again. But I like the way you started by your questioning that, how can I fit in here? How can I make this work for me? And I love that, because that is what makes someone who has an outcome mindset, who's not thinking about why me or the blame, but they're thinking about how they can fit in and how they can make this work for them. That again is resilience. And you did that in 2015. You made that your year. You agree with that, Tana?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because I know a move can be good and can be bad, but you made the most out of it, and I can see and tell that you've already made friends, which is us all here on the show, and I know that you'll do well. So for both Monica and Tana, here we go. This is the video game, hey? I mean, there's shows on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've already gone half an hour into the show, and I want to spend the next half an hour talking about the next year and your goals. And I would like to share that with the viewers, because I want them to know that, hey, just like them, we have goals, and we know that we will have obstacles, but this is all about planning ahead. And so I thought about this yesterday, and it's gone. but it's actually about, okay, talk about your goals. Talk about the obstacles that you'll see, one or two, that you may see coming forward when you have a goal. And that's what planning ahead is all about. And then D is for, so what are you going to do about it? So what are you going to decide about the goal and the obstacle that you may have. And again, this is being resilient, because if you talk to any person who goes into business or who goes into a venture, they will always say, okay, what is the obstacle that I may face down the road? And how can I overcome that? They're already thinking about that before even making a decision. So let's go through that for this year. But before I do, I just want to tell people something about goals. That's just kind of like a point list that they will have in their mind as they come up with their goals. So one, they have to be clear. Number two, it's a whole year. We have more than one goal. But my advice to you is that your brain can only take about 7 to 9 bits of information. So make sure you only have about 5, 7, or 9 goals, because that's what the brain can take. And then make sure it's realistic. For example, when I had to write my book this year in 2015, I seriously felt I didn't have time to write a book, but I did it in 5 months. And the only way I did that, after I had my coach, as I spoke to him saying, how am I going to write this book? Where am I going to find the time? And he goes, can you write 1 chapter a week? And I said, yeah, I can do that. Maybe on a Sunday morning between 5 and 11, which I did. Well, I got the book done in 5 months. Now, he has helped other people write their book in 30 days. And I knew I couldn't do that. So I was being realistic. When he said, can you do it in 30 days? And I said, I don't think so. Okay, can we do 5 months? Because 1 chapter a week, 20 chapters, about 5 months. Yeah, so that is being realistic. Okay. Number 4, make sure it's in front of you somehow. So make it visual. So for me, my goals are on my phone, and they can be under the notes, like a section. They can be in what I call Evernote, which is an app, and I've put it on there. So make sure it's in front of you. It can be on your wall in the office. And the last thing that I want you to understand is goals will only work when you break them down into tasks. So when I told you about the book is the goal. The chapter is one thing that I can do a week. So make it consistent, break it down into a task. When can I write it? Well, only on Sundays between 5 and 10 in the morning. That's all I can do. Okay, fine. So you see how I took my goal and I broke it down into a task, and now it was done by July 1st. So keeping those in mind, let's work with Tana now. Tana, tell us what your goal, and if we can just stick to one goal, please, because of the time, for the year, and how you plan to break it down. And if you have thought of any obstacles that will stop you from achieving that goal or will slow you down, that's fine. How are you going to overcome that?
Okay. Well, do you have feedback?
I'm sorry?
Do you have feedback on my talk?
No.
Oh, I do. There's 2 or 3 of me. So I think the goal that I have is, like several of you have written a book. I've always dreamed of writing a book. I've planned on writing a book. It's been on my to-do list forever, for more than a decade, and I never actually get to it. I've sat down many times in the past and thought, okay, I'm going to create the outline of it, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that. And as a result, I have a whole bunch of fragmented files that mean nothing, and they didn't turn into anything. And I realized this year, it's like, that's the last thing on my bucket list. Like, I really have, I've checked off everything else, but I'm not that. So I take that as my number 1, and I've started. So I'm actually going to start chapter 3 today. I've never actually completed, I've done lots of outlines and ideas and brainstorming, but I have not produced 3 chapters before, not even 1. So I'm actually pretty excited. Wow.
Because I thought, well, good for you. Like all this time, like for 10 years, you say,
yeah,
there online, you didn't do it, and now you're on chapter 3. Woohoo! Good on you. Let's celebrate.
Yeah. And I wanted to start before 2016. That was really important to me. I'm also taking on my well-being, my physical well-being, and I started in December. Like I wanted to get the jump started. I didn't want it to be a Sunday conversation or I'll do it in January. I wanted it to be right now. So for the book, the biggest obstacle that I have is just myself. A real concern for, you know, the technical part of writing, and do I have what it takes to actually engage a reader? A lot of self-doubt, finding the time, and probably more importantly, like sorting through the ideas and things in my head and being really clear and succinct. Because I do, in so many ways, I feel like I've lived 5 lifetimes already. And it gets overwhelming. Like, how do I put that together? How do I extract value for the people that are reading it? And what do I choose? What do I focus on? So that was a really big one for me. And I have you to thank for that too, because you did give me the final little nudge, especially when you shared about your writing coach, right? And so I'm working with your writing coach, and I love him. He's great. And yeah, the whole outline is built. The chapters are all named. I have a little thumbnail about each one, and yeah, I'm on a less than 1 per week.
Yeah.
Well, actually, a little more than 1 per week. So I'm not, a whole week isn't going by between starting the next one, but close, probably 5 days or something.
So then let me ask you, do you have a date for when the book will be done? Like, or a kind of like or a month?
I would say June. I'm kind of shooting for June. Yeah. Yeah. And I know that I'll probably end up overwriting. I'll write a couple of extra chapters and just look back and just cut them out, knowing that, you know, they'll find their place later.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
I'm so glad though that you spoke about the self-doubt, because this is something that I find all of us go through. All of us who have a book to write, who have a message to share, we all go through self-doubt. And I'm so glad that you brought that up, because that is something, again, on how am I going to overcome that? And it's just by writing, and it's just by sharing, and knowing that what you are sharing is not just about you or for you, but it's about the people out there that you want to help. And I think that's the way it got me through. I just want to share my message. I just want to put it out there. And that's what got me going. But thank you for sharing that, Tana. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for the kick in the pants.
You're welcome. Okay, Monica, you're next. Tell us about your goal for 2016. One goal, 1 or 2 obstacles that you may face, and how you are going to overcome that.
Okay. I agree with you about setting the goals in the different areas. So I do set them in 8 different areas.
Okay. Okay.
I also try to focus on the feelings that's going to reveal for me when I accomplish those goals. So mine are accomplishment, ease, and enjoyment. Because I think I come from a family that you have to work real hard to accomplish what you're going to accomplish, and I want to try to do it this year in 2016 with more ease and with more enjoyment. So that's part of my goal. One of them has to do with reaching more women, because one of the things that I find when I'm out speaking, women always come up to me and say, I'm so great at appreciating others, but I'm not good at accepting appreciation. And this can really way in your relationships, in your work, if you can't stand out, if you're lacking, showing that you're lacking confidence. So I would like to do more webinars to reach more people. And you are inspiring me, Zahim, by doing this. So this is going to be an obstacle for me, because I have to reach out to more people to try to arrange that. And it's something that I haven't ever done. So I'm excited about it.
Yes, and you have all of us here as of now, so we can all help you and reach out. And for sure, I can see you doing really well in 2016 with the webinars and everything. So, and I'm so glad again that you brought that up, because yeah, it is nerve-wracking with the technology, whether people show up or not, right? Because once you put it out there, you're like, okay, how many people are going to show up? 1, 2, 300, And if it's less, we're still like, oh my. And if it's more, we're like, oh my, I hope it goes well, right? So
right.
there is no like middle or end. It's just that you just have to go with it, and if happens, it happens. You just learn from it, you tweak it some more, and just keep on doing it, right?
Right, right. Good words. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. Okay, and for that, again, we will give you a little. Oh, that's Barbara. Okay. There we go. That's better. Okay. So Lotti, tell us about one goal for 2016, and if you have any obstacles that you foresee, and how you'll overcome them. And so one obstacle and how you'll overcome it.
Okay, one goal is for years and forever. It's always that I am balanced and aligned, as joyful as possible every second of the day. I really want to live in every minute of the day. And my goals, all my technical goals, I call them outside goals, like the webinar, like reaching out to more companies. I feel for myself, if I'm aligned, it all flows anyway every day. And in the morning, I get up and I set my goals for the day, or I know what I have to do. And I know only I can do it well when I'm balanced and joyful and not overwhelmed. And that's my goal for life, actually. So that's it. Obstacles, I conquer them with approaching it with, I'm reading now the book Webinars for Dummies, because I had no clue about how to do webinars, and I have one coming up 28th of January, and I'm really struggling every day. How do I conduct a webinar for a corporate? I mean, these might be hundreds of people. Who knows? We don't even know that yet. So but my real goal is always being balanced inside, and everything works then.
Right. So if you
falls into place.
If you have the intent of just being balanced and being able to just be in alignment, then I think, I feel that when you have that intent, and intent, by the way, comes from the word intendo, which means to reach forward towards your goal. And so if your goal, for example, is to have a great webinar that runs with ease and flow, that can be a goal in itself. On 28th of January, then your intent is to be balanced and to be able to just know everything. So that's where you're reaching towards your goal.
Right, but I notice with my clients that I do energy healing with, and it's always, that's the missing link to really achieve your goal.
It's the intent, correct?
It's not only an intent, it's a life in itself. It is so important, and it really gives you the basics to be successful.
Yes.
The rest will follow automatically. I also recommend really 2 books, Michael Singer's The Untethered Soul, and Michael Singer's The Surrender Experiment. It helped me to identify how I can be joyful every day, and by tuning out the chatter in my mind, the negative chatter, like the thinking and the feeling. So I go into my inner true self. That's in short.
And that's the way Michael says, like Michael Lozier, who is your mentor and mine, that it's the thinking and feeling that we have to change to be able to attract what we want. Well, thank you for that, Lotti, and for that, again, I will give you a drum roll. Okay.
Thank
okay,
you.
Well, so we have about 10 minutes, so you have time. If you can share with us a goal for 2016 and an obstacle that you foresee and how you'll overcome that.
Well, I'm bringing back the podcast goal from 2015, and actually it's on track for, we'll probably be launching the podcast in February, so that's great. And you know, I also have goals around doing some series of webinars, but I always particularly encourage clients, you know, not just for myself but also with clients, that we're drawn to the task, to the doing all the time, and it's easy for us to set the doing goals, and they're great because we want to do, but you know, that gets so much of our attention that I think it's also helpful to set goals around our being, the being side of how it is that we're showing up, how it is that we're engaging in the world. So for me, my 2016 goal is about paying attention to pace. The pace of life, the pace at which that I am engaging in things, which isn't about that everything has to slow down. There's a part of that, but it's just paying attention to, is this the appropriate pace for whatever it is that's going on? And I think the obstacle around that is, you know, to quote Star Wars, is it will be easy to be seduced to the dark side of the busyness of life. You know, all around us is this, you know, come to the dark side of busy, 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 more technology, more, you know, multitasking, more everything. And so that's an obstacle for all of us, and for me personally, that I can go, oh yes, sure, of course, I can, you know, juggle 15 different things at once. And for me, the way to approach that obstacle is to really pay attention to the thing that I know that help to ground me. So, you know, you've mentioned intention, you know, setting intention in the morning to kind of recommit, because it's about practice, isn't it? Yeah. It's not about we get it and okay, now I'm done with that. Because I think there's a fallacy in that. We're continually practicing, we're continually bringing ourselves back to what it is that works for us. We do what works, and then it's working, and then we stop doing it, and then we have to come back to what works again. So it's all about the practice, the practice, the practice.
Yeah, yeah, and I strongly agree with you, Laurel. It's that, you know, pace again. Like when I started the you know, hangout today and the show, I say, yeah, I went through a concussion, but I also had a webinar that I had planned for this afternoon, and I canceled it. There were some things that I planned to do while I was off for the holidays. You know, I'm strategizing my 2016 on how I don't want to do everything. I just want to focus on 2 things to market, and that's it, just 2 things to market. And so I really appreciate you bringing up the fact that we don't have to do everything, right? We don't have to be on Facebook. We don't have to be on Twitter. We don't have to be on Pinterest. We don't have to be on Periscope. We don't have to be, you know? So just pick things that work for you and just do that. And that's what I'm doing for 2016 is I'm strategizing my whole, the way I do things and the way I market. And I've just picked 2 things that I'm just going to focus on, and that's it. And one of them is Hangouts through YouTube videos, and that's it. And the occasional Facebook video, but that's it. That's all I'm doing. And the reason I'm glad you brought that up is because just like any other person out there who wants to build their business, I thought that I had to do everything. And I realized I can't. And I have to slow down. I have to check my pace. So what I would like you all to do now is to unmute, and then I want you to share one last thing from that you had an aha moment from the show itself, or just from someone else's conversation here on the show. So let's start with Laurel.
Well, I think the thing that kind of stood out for me is the common threads that seem to run everything that everyone is saying. That you know, there's a lot of combined or similar sort of wisdom about not only, you know, paying attention to pace or paying attention to intention, or looking at what it is that has been successful for us in the past and how we pull that forward. So that I think stood for me, that there's a lot of similarity across what everyone's talking about.
Yeah. Thanks, Laura. How about you, Lottie? Anything that you want to share, like an aha moment or something someone said?
Well, my aha moment was again that I feel like we really always want to be feeling good throughout everything what we do. And yes, as Laurel said, it's showing with everybody, and that's my highest recommendation for everybody who is listening or watching, that we always try to feel good whatever we do, and the next thing is coming anyway because it's set up already in the universe for us to receive.
Yeah.
If we are unblocked.
Yeah. Thank you, Lottie. How about you, Monica?
Yes. Did I unmute? Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. Two things. One is that we do tend to take things a little bit for granted. Listening to Tana talk about how she didn't realize how connected she was until she felt unconnected. And I think bringing some appreciation, all of those things that we sort of take for granted really helps improve our sense of what we have, so we focus on what's working rather than what's not. And that it reminded me also what Tana said, that life begins at the end of your comfort zone, that here she's having to do all kind of new things, and I'm going to be trying new things, and that they shouldn't, keep us from doing them because they're new and they're out of our comfort zone and they're a little uncomfortable, that it's going to be exciting to stretch out of your comfort zone. That's when you grow, and really hope that I can do that, and inspired by all of you doing that as well.
Thank you, Monica. That was great that you brought that up again. Okay, Tana.
Well, I would have to say, Lottie used the word balance, and building on that, I do have a tendency to swing. I'll focus on personal, or I'll focus on business, and I'll put a lot of energy behind whatever I'm doing. But what I have really seen this year is, without integrity, nothing works, and the baseline for integrity is actually my physical well-being. If I'm not looking after that, who am I kidding? And I really did let that go, and I had a lot of reasons and stories and excuses that would get me off the hook, but really there is no getting off the hook. Who am I kidding? So I think just putting in a baseline of integrity under everything that I'm doing, which is, and that was another one of the common threads, is just looking after myself and making sure that I'm taking the actions to stay fit and healthy first, because that impacts everything.
Yes. And I'm so glad again that you brought that out, because that is something that I too let go, especially in October of last year. It just fell off. And again, there are no excuses, but this is something that now for 2016, I have told my assistant here at the wellness center, block me off. I do want to go work out. I do want to do the yoga that we offer. Like, we offer all the workouts here at the wellness center. Like, we have kettlebell on Wednesdays, we have yoga on Thursdays. But they book me with clients. And I go, hello, book me up. Do not book clients with me. So, and I've asked them to do that, and now it's going to work. I think what happened last was that I didn't tell them to book me off, and I started off, but then I go, well, I'll see this client, well, I'll see that client. Now it's no, this is all about me. And I think we have to hold each other accountable, don't we? That, hey, so are you working out, every Wednesday and Thursday as you promised? And I think what we could do in 2016 is come back after 3 or 4 months and just check. Okay, so are we keeping balance and enjoying? is the podcast going well? Are the webinars that you thought of? And in all that, are we keeping in alignment with our joy, with our happiness, with what we want to do, which is also keep in check with our health, keep in check with our mind, and just keep the pace, right? You all agree? Let's give a clap for that. Okay, so I just want to thank, first of all of you for taking the time to be on the show here today. And I know it's still the holiday season. Some of you are still enjoying time with your family. I know I am, because after the show, I'm going with my husband and my daughter to the spa. So we're going to spend the afternoon at the spa. So that's our time there. And I hope that you are still enjoying the time off and take that, because come 2016, it's new things, new exciting things coming up. And if anything happens, we can understand from all the talk that we've had today is that there is a way that we can come out and go through this. And it just makes us, like the way Monica said, that it just shapes us more into better and better human beings. And I just want to say again, thank you so much. And make sure, if you, when you watch this show, viewers, when you listen to the show, listeners on the podcast, make sure you go and see Tana at possibility.ca, Monica at, is it monicastrobel.com?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then Lottie Meyer, that's MEIER.com. And Laurel is at stonecirclecoaching.com, right?
StoneCircleCoaching.com, right?
Yes. So make sure you go see them. And then Kathy Calwell has her website up, and it's Kathleen Calwell, CALWELL.ca. And you can get her freebie on the show notes and on my website, zaheenmanju.com, which is episode number 17. You can go in there and get the show notes and get all the freebies from the experts. Also, make sure you go on to Laurel's webinar about the new year, 16 tips to make 2016 work for you. And that's on the show notes as well. There will be no show next Sunday, because this was an hour long and I'm taking a break. So I'll see you at the end of the month, on the last Sunday of the month. Until then, see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.